Hey everybody, welcome to another drive-through digital review. Today I'm going to talk about Eclipse. This was just recently released for the iPad. Now I'm going to give you a little bit of a walkthrough, a little bit of how to play. Now I've played the board game several times, and the tutorial that came with the game was easy enough for me to get in and pick it up and kind of remind myself of how everything works and translate sort of what I know about the board game into the digital game here. But I am going to do a very basic walkthrough of the different actions and the technologies and the ships that you can get, and also just kind of give you my thoughts in general as I'm going through this and kind of how they translated everything. So the basic idea of the game is that you're going to pick one of these races here, try to sort of colonize the galaxy and conquer and exterminate the other alien races possibly, and basically do the best and score the most points over 9 turns. Now quickly we can go into the rules here. You can pick the tutorial, that's just fine. It'll get your feet wet and get you started just kind of randomly, choosing things to do. It may not give you a good sense of why you would do some of the things you would do, but I thought it was fine. You've got the manual here. This is pretty well written. Again, I know the game, so it's hard for me to judge, but if you have any, sort of questions, you can go to here, and it's pretty clear from what I can see. Now next here you can see the species here, so if we click this, you can take a look at each of the different species that are available. It shows you the ships that they're going to have, the starting hex, the sort of home world, and any of the special abilities that may be available to them. If you click over here on the side, it'll give you sort of a list here, and you can see for each of these species here, you've got sort of an alien species and then the human species. Now to start the game, you just want to choose a human because it's the most basic. And you have basically a choice in either color. So you could be blue and be the alien, or be the Terran or the human there. So if I click the blue guy here, it's going to show you, all the different little things and the little abilities they have. And the cool thing about the app is it actually has sort of different, art for the different ships, even though they're basically the same for everybody. So let's close this out, and then we're going to go back here and we'll go into and start a new game. So you can play a local game or online. I've played 5 times now locally against the AI, 2 2-player games, 2 3-player games, and a 4-player game. And I will say that if you're new at this, you want to go with the easy AI, especially to kind of get your feet wet and learn what all the different technologies and things are. But the hard AI is excellent. I think it's one of the best AIs that I've seen in an iPad board game. I've beaten it. But it's also beaten me, and it provides a good challenge and usually makes a decent decision. So sometimes it'll do something kind of funky, but nothing's perfect. So let's start a local game. So I'll just do a 2-player game for the demo purposes here, but you can pick your different characters and stuff here. So let's start the game. So you can see we've got round 1, and it's basically 1 of 9. You're always going to play 9 rounds unless you get eliminated from the game, and it's going to randomly decide and seed the board with these available technologies to start the game. So every round that we have in the game, you're going to get new technologies made available to you that you can research and add stuff to your ships and your bases and different things like that. So now it's my turn. It's always going to pop up with this. When it's your turn, you go ahead and click that, and then you can see here my starting homeworld hex here, and you can see I've got 1 little ship there and then 3 kinds of planets of different colors. Now at the top of the board you can see basically 3 kinds of resources, and these are in colors matching the different kinds of planets that are available. So as you expand and get to more hexes and colonize more planets, you're going to increase the amount of resources of the different types that you produce. So you can see in the number in the little circle there, that's the amount of stuff you have on hand, and then these little dots here will fill up as you colonize green planets, for example. These will fill up, so every round you're going to generate more and more. And simply what the resources are is the orange one is basically your money, the sort of pink purple one is science, and this green one is sort of like raw materials. You're going to use this to build ships. The other thing to keep in mind here is your little influence bar here. So if we zoom in on this hex here, you can see it's got my little blue hand. Now this is my player color, like so. So if I put my 2 fingers down on the board like that, it can show you what the other hexes are around it possibly, and then you can easily see who owns what, but it'll kind of highlight it in your color. So for each hex you control, and you have a little influence marker here, it's going to eat up each of these little influence slots here, and basically every round you can see these little negative numbers there. That's the amount of money it's going to take out of you each round. So as you colonize more and more hexes, it's going to tax your empire more. So you want to keep your money generation up, because at the end of the round, if you can't pay for the amount of influence that you've used, then you may have to lose influence on some hexes that you own. Now the other way that you're going to spend your influence is when you take an action. So every time you take one of these 6 actions down here, you're going to eat up an influence for that round. So let's take a look at these 6 actions quickly. So you can explore, you can add influence to some hexes, you can do research into different technologies, you can upgrade your ships, you can actually build your ships, and then you can move your ships. So let's take a look at what happens when you click explore here. So we can see here it highlights all of the hexes that we can get to, and you can see these little wormholes here, these little half circles on our home hex. That means we can actually exit these hexes here. So if we zoom out, we can get a sense of what else is on the board here. So this is just a 2-player game. We can see the computer player has a little home world and a little exploration they've done up there. This is going to be the center hex here in the galaxy. Then again, if we put 2 fingers down, we can see all the available hexes and what they might be at some point in the game. So back to exploring here. So there's different types of hexes that are going to happen here. So as you get closer to the center of the galaxy, you're going to get better stuff. There are going to be more planets with better resources, but there also might be more aliens or tougher aliens that you may run into. And those are kind of the inner hexes that you can see kind of going around the center of the galaxy. And you've got sort of a second tier here, and then you've got sort of your outlying hexes there. So just for fun, let's click this inner hex here and see what we get. So you can see we've got a hex here. We can choose to keep it or reject it. If you reject it, you lose it. If you choose to keep it, then you're going to get whatever it is. So you can see there's a purple planet here. This will help us with our science. And there's a little victory point thing there. Now there may be an alien on there. In this case we're in luck, so there's not. So let's go ahead and keep it. And then you can see here, you've got this hex here. And you can actually twist this and align this and get those wormholes aligned how you want, so you can kind of block people off if you leave a side with no wormholes facing them so they don't come into you. So let's just choose to keep it like that. We'll go ahead and hit the check mark here, and now you can see we've added influence here. So not only do we have our influence from our starting hex, we also spent an influence when we took that explore action, and now we've used another influence to colonize that hex. So now at the end of this round, we're going to be basically have to pay $1 a fee, taxes or maintenance, if you will. So we'll go ahead and say OK here. And then it's going to ask us if we want to colonize a planet. Well, you bet we do. So we're going to click that there, and you can see we've got a little orbiting thing there, and that has now added to our science income. So you can see our science income is bumped up, so now at the end of this turn we're going to generate 4 instead of 3. So now we've taken our action. Now we can take and slide this over here, end our turn, and just want to show you something. It's actually going to walk you through what the AI does. So you can see it's exploring, it's going to animate all this stuff, and it's going to do all these different actions. So you can actually sit here and watch the other player. And that's one thing I would recommend with new players is go through the tutorial, get some idea, and just kind of play around, but then watch the AI and kind of see what they do and some of the choices they make. And then that'll give you a good sense, I think. So I just want to give you a quick little overview of some of the other actions here. So let's just do a research for fun. Here we're going to click research. And then these 2 windows here are going to pop open on the upper left-hand side of the screen. It's going to highlight any technologies that you have enough science to purchase. But this is everything that's available here. And again, randomly each round, new technologies are going to come out to be discovered. You also see that you have 3 rows here in this little top section. And you have 3 rows here for your section here. This is all the technologies that you have personally learned. Now I picked the Tehran, so I have this technology to start with as one of their special abilities. If you picked aliens, you may have different other technologies available. So there's a ton here, and this is really going to be what the game is about, and learning what these do, when they're good to get, and when it's good to use them, and things like that. So we're just going to do an upgrade here. So I'm going to take and drag this here, and then I'm just going to pop it down there, and then that's done. Again, I've spent science, this purple resource up here, to purchase these. Science is always to purchase these technologies. Now that I've purchased this is actually a modifier for my ship. Now I can actually upgrade all of my ships with this ability here. And this is a shield here, basically going to reduce the die rolls of attacks against. So we'll go ahead and end our turn again. Again, you can see we've used influence now that we took an action. So I'm going to end my turn. Let's see what the AI is going to do. So the AI is now upgrading their ship. So you can actually see them taking different technologies there and adding them to the different ship types there. That's pretty cool. So now I'm going to take my turn. I'm going to go ahead and upgrade my ships as well. And you basically have 3 types of ships and then sort of a starbase action here. Now the one ship that you start with is one of these little interceptors, these little weenie fighters there. And you can see each of these has these 4 little slots there. It's going to be hard to see in the video here, but I wanted to give you sort of a broad view. Then you've got your cruisers and you've got your dreadnoughts. You can see the cost here in green. That's how much of the material cost up here it's going to cost you to actually physically make one of these ships. We only have one of these interceptors so far. But you can go ahead and click on these different things like this one here, and it'll tell you what it does. So you can just kind of have some fun clicking around and seeing, which ones of these are weapons or missiles or shields and different things like that. So if I wanted to, I don't know, let's say put this targeting computer on my interceptor there, I'll drag it over and drop it in. You can always drop in 2 technologies onto however many ships you can do, 2 on one ship or 1 on 2 different ships, and then you can remove technologies as well. Now, one thing to keep in mind is you see this little energy symbol here. Each of these ships here has the amount of energy that it produces, and then different things like these little yellow attack dice here, that has a little tiny energy symbol next to it, and that's the amount of energy it costs. You can see these little guys here. These are like little hull points here, sort of amount of physical armor on the ship. These don't have any little energy, so you're going to want to be able to make sure that you have enough energy for the technologies that you're using and the components that you'll actually upgrade. That's a kind of a mistake that a new player may make. Let's go ahead and build a ship. I'm going to click the build, and it's going to ask me which hex I want to build in. It's got to be one that I own. Let's go ahead and put one with this guy here. And then it's going to ask you, which kind of ship do you want to make. So you can build any of those 3 ships or the starbase. You can also build orbitals and monoliths, which will score you victory points for having hexes that have one of those in there that you control. Right now, the only thing I can afford is another little interceptor. So I'll go ahead and click that one there. And then you can see, boom, that popped in. And I've got 2 of those there. So you can see here we've gone into the second round. It gives us our current victory points. It may estimate the victory points because when you attack people you'll drop victory point chips that only you can see. And then it's going to show you the technology that's come out for this round. So now I want to talk about ship movement and combat here. So you can choose the move action here and then move your different fleets and ships that are around in your different hexes. Now to start the game, all 3 of your ship types can move 1 hex per movement. When you choose the move, you can see the 3 arrows there. It means you can do 3 movements. So I can move 1 ship 3 spaces, or I can move 3 ships 1 space. But as you upgrade technologies, you're going to be able to move ships more than 1 hex per movement. So basically you get 3 moves and then you just move up to the maximum movement of your ship type. So we're going to go ahead and do move here. I'm going to select this hex there. Then we're going to move in here to where there's an alien ship. So I'll move that one. It's going to shoot through the wormhole there. I'm going to click this one again, move him in there. And then now there's not going to be any combat until the end of the round. So you're going to do all your actions, all your different movement or whatever, and then anywhere that there's 2 opposing teams, then you're going to have some combat. So now here it's chosen to resolve our combat because there's ancient aliens and then some of my guys in there. So you're going to click this and then you're going to go into a really cool combat scenario. I'm actually going to turn on the sound for this because the music's pretty cool. So we're going to click that. Then we can choose to attack here. We've got 2 same types of ships. If you had multiple types of ships, it would group them by type. You go ahead and click attack. They basically need a 6 to hit. So you can see I got 2 shots off based on the weapons that I have. And then these basically didn't roll very high, so they're not going to be a hit. So I'm going to go ahead and skip that. And he's going to get to shoot. So you can see there it assigned 1 hit, and he's gone. I can either retreat to go back to the hex I came from, or I can hit attack again. So that's a miss again. If you get a hit, you basically take and drag and choose which ship you're going to hit. So boom, he's gone, and that's it. Now when you battle, you're going to draw victory point chips here from a quote-unquote bag. Depending on the types of ships and stuff that you kill, you're going to get different amounts of victory point chips, and they value 1 through 4, and that's how it's going to try to estimate what everybody's victory points is round by round. But you get 1 at least for participating, and I got lucky and drew a 3-point chip there. Now you can see here I overspent my influence last round trying to dig up an alien ship to find. So now I'm in the red. So it's going to show you when you're in the red the amount of influence cash that you have to pay to the amount of income and money that you have here. It will let you exchange resources, so you can exchange money for science or science for money and things like that. And you can always do that during your turn. If you need to get a little bit more science to do some research or something, you can click this button here, and then it brings up the screen to be able to exchange resources at a 2-for-1 basis. You can see, unfortunately, I'm bankrupt, so I have to give up one of my sectors there. So now I've lost control of that, but I've gotten an influence disk back up here, so that next round I'll be able to do some more actions. So that's pretty much the game. You're going to take your turn choosing one of these actions here, exploring new sectors, trying to find new planets, upgrading to different technologies as they come out, making your ships better. And there's a lot of other technologies here that allow you access to different planets and other special abilities. There's a lot of combat in the game, so you need to be very sort of patient and strategic with how you upgrade your ships, how many you build, so you go in with a strong force. As you can see in the example I showed you, it just got wiped off the map. And you just play over 9 rounds. You get victory points for the different hexes you control, you get victory points for combat. There's a lot of other little details in here, but I would just recommend play through the tutorial and then play 2-player on easy. That'll give you a sense of sort of the ebb and flow of the game and how it's going to progress over the 9 rounds. But overall, I'm super impressed with this app. There's just a ton of information crammed into all the little nooks and crannies in the different corners of the screen here. I mean, I have seen a couple of bugs and some minor crashes and things like that, but overall the app is super polished. I think it'll be kind of near perfection with a first pass and a first patch of fixes. This is easily the best board game app for the iPad or anything by far. If you have any interest in this, if you've played the board game, this is a no-brainer. If you're new, then I think my advice to you is, again, do the tutorial, do 2-player and easy, and then kind of just work your way up, because the game is just daunting by itself. And one thing you could even do is go to Board Game Geek and download the rules for the official board game. Those are very well written and should be able to easily get you into sort of the gist of the game. So anyway, that's Eclipse, and if you have an iPad, I would just go get it immediately.